Yomi for Homoid Pesach is Sotah Daf Yud Beis, and we're going to start on the bottom of Yud Aleph on the Beis as the Gemara is discussing the idea that King David, is a descendant of Miriam the Neviah. And the reason why we know this is because Miriam married Kalev. And so the Gemara is going to discuss, how do we know that Miriam married Kalev? How do we possibly know this? So the Gemara explains as follows. The Gemara says 3 lines from the bottom on 11b, V'Kalev ben Chetzron holid es Azuva, that the pasuk tells us in Divrei Hayamim that Kalev, who was the son of Chetzron, gave birth to Azuva, Isha. That he gave birth to Azuva. Isha can mean his wife, or it can mean the woman. The es Yirios, and also Yirios. Now, how could he give birth to his wife? The Gemara is going to discuss that. The Ela Banal, and these are her children. They are Yesher. The children are Yesher, Shovev, and Ardun. So the Gemara says, let's first go into every single part of this verse, which seems to be just a straight chronology or genealogy, is going to be analyzed by the Gemara. Gemara says, really, was Kalev ben Chetzron? Was he really the son of Chetzron? Ben Yefuneh, he was the son of Yefuneh, as it states in the Torah. Kalev ben Yefuneh. So the Gemara says, so the reason is he really was ben Chetzron, but why was he called ben Yefuneh? Ben Shepana me'atzas miraglim. He was the one who turned from the council of the spies, and he didn't accept their counsel, and that's why he was called Ben Yefuneh. V'akati, the Gemara asked the question, Ben Kenaz, he still wasn't called Ben Chetzron. He was called Ben Kenaz because there's another pasuk in Joshua chapter 15. It says, "Vayel Kedea Otniel ben Kenaz achi Kalev." And Otniel, the son of Kenaz, the brother of Kalev, captured the city. So the Gemara explains, no, that's not enough of an answer, because Amar Rava says he was not the paternal brother of Kenaz. Chorgo de Kenazaya, he was the stepson of the man named Kenaz. So he was the son of the wife of Kenaz. And Dekanami, and we're on top of 12a, we can indeed infer this because it states HaKenizi, that Kalev was called the Kenizi. It says in the pasuk, by the division of the land, it says Vayomer Lov Kalev ben Yefuneh HaKenizi. It doesn't call him Ben Kenaz, so like that, which is what Osniel is called. So we see from here that he wasn't really his biological son; he was his stepson or his adopted son. Shema Mina, we see from here that Kalev was not the biological son of Kenaz. So the Gemara says, well, why did it say Kalev married the Kalev ben Chetzron? It says in the pasuk, Holid es Azuva. Does he really give birth to Azuva? Who is Azuva? Miriam. This is Miriam. Vilama Nikra Shema Azuva. And why we're on the top of 12a? Why was Miriam called Azuva? Shahakol Azuva mitchilasa. Because everybody at first had ran away from her, meaning to say they didn't want to be with her. And the reason is, as the Gemara is about to explain, because she was very sick. She had saras and she was sick. And only Kalev was willing to marry her. So then the Gemara says, but it says, Holid et Azuva. It says he gave birth to Azuva. Now of having Nasifa. We're on 12a, 5 lines from the top, but 3 lines from the top. But he was married to her. Why did it say give birth to her? I'm Rabbi Yochanan calling notes say Isha Hashem Shemayim, whoever marries a woman completely for the sake of heaven, Ma'ala Olav HaKasuv, then the Torah is going to look at you Ki'ilu Yoda, as though you gave birth to her. Yirios, why does it say in the pasuk that she was? It says that Kalev ben Chetzron gave birth to Azuva as his wife, and also Yirios. What does the word Yirios mean here? So the Gemara explains, Shayu Panah Domin Yirios. Her face, Miriam's face, when he married her, was similar to sheets. meaning to say that it had no red in it, and she was so sick with tsaras, so her face had a green complexion. These are the children of Kalev and Miriam, and so they are Yesher, Shovev, Arnon. But the Gemara does a drasha on this. Why are they called Yesher, Shovev, and Arnon? I'll decree Banea, don't read this verse as saying that these were her children, Ella Bonea, but rather this was her husband, that she built him up with her marriage, and like other women do, like women typically raise their children, she built them up with their marriage. And the three names that are mentioned in the verse are really descriptions of Kalev. He was called Yeshar, She Yisher Es Atzmo, that Kalev, excuse me, I said the opposite. It's not that she built up Kalev, but he built her up with the marriage. Like that's the way to read it. That Yesher, that Kalev was Sheyisher Etzmo, that he straightened himself from sinning with the spies. Shovav Sheshisheb Es Yisrael, that he overcame his will. Ardon Sherada Es Yisrael, he conquered his will. Mikadamri Al Shayu Panah Domin Levera, that he was called Ardon because the face of Miriam was similar to a rose, and that but at the beginning it had no red in it, but now it had total red. And then the Gemara is discussing another verse about Kalev. It says, "U'ashchor avi Tekoa hayushtei nashim Chala v'Nara," and to Ashchor, the father of Tekoa, this is in Divrei Yamim, there were two wives, Chala and Nara. So the Gemara explains, what is it called? Ashchor, Kalev. That's reference to Kalev. V'lama nikra Shemo Ashchor. Why is Kalev called Ashchor? Shehushcharu b'panav b'tanis. That he darkened his face with fasts because he didn't want to stumble with the sin of the spies. And why does he say Avi? Shana Sela Ka'av, meaning to say that he became like a father to Miriam, that he engaged in feeding her and nursing her. Tekoa, why is he called Tekoa? It says, Lashchor, our father of Tekoa, Shetaka Slibo Aviv Shebeshamayim, that he cemented his heart to his father in heaven. Hayushtei nashim, there were two, he had two wives. Nasa Miriam Kishtei nashim, that Miriam became like two different women, meaning to say Chala v'Nara, that she was called Chala v'Nara. Well, Chala v'Nara, she was not, these were not her names, Ella B'tchila Chala. At first, Miriam was sick, a little bit sof Nara, and then she became, after she married to Kalev, she became all healed. Uvenei Chala Tzeres v'Tzor v'Esnan. And then it says the children of Chala were Sarah, Tzor, and Esnan. Sarah Shanas is Sarah l'Chavrusa. By the time Kalev had healed her, she became so beautiful. She was like a tormentor to all the other women in the world who were amazed by her beauty. Soar Shayu Panah Domin Kitzarayim, her face became luminous like the noon. And Esnan Shakoa Roho Samoch Esnan Ishto, whoever saw Miriam with her beauty, they would bring a gift to their wife because they would be so desirous of their wife after they would see the beauty of Miriam. And now we're going to get back to the Exodus discussion. Vayitzav Paro l'chol amo, and Paro commanded all of his people that he said all the boys were going to throw into the sea. Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, Afa Hamol Gazar. It should have said he commanded to do to the Jewish people, but rather he commanded to his people to say that Paro's decree initially started off against the Jewish people, but in the end it ended up as a decree against his own people, that he ended up throwing up all the Egyptian boys also into the sea. The Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Chanina, or is it Rabbi Amar Yehuda bar Chanina, Shalosh Gezeros Gazar, there were three decrees against the Paro decree. But first he said, "In Benu v'amiten oso." First he said, "Just kill the boys." Ulesof kol ben hayulod hayora tashachu. And then he said, throw all the boys into the sea. And then ulesof afal amogazar. And then in the end, he also threw his own people into his own boys into the sea. And then it says in the verse that a man went from the house of Levi and took the daughter of Levi. Where did he go? That he went, he took the counsel of his daughter. Amram took the counsel of his daughter, Miriam. Tana Amram Gadol Adoraya. Amram was the greatest of the generation. And Kivan Sharash Amar Paro Harasha. Once he saw that Paro, the wicked one, had said, or Kivan Shigazar Paro Harasha. Once Paro had decreed, Kol Ben Hayilod Hayora Tasaku, every boy that is born cast into the sea. Amar was Shavanu Amelin. So Amram gave up. He said, why are we bothering to make children? Paro was just going to throw them into the sea. Amad Vagirish Ishto. He stood up and divorced his wife. Amdu Kuan Bagirshwas Nisho saying, all of the other people of the generation stood up and divorced their wives. Amaro Pito. So his daughter Miriam said to him, Abba Kasha Gezerasla Yoser Mishal Paro. Father, your decree is worse than Paro. Shaparo Gazer al Zacharim. Paro made a decree against the males. You made the decree against the males and the females. Paro made his decree in this world. You made the decree in this world and in the world to come. Paro Rasha Suffolk Miskayemis. Gezeros Suffolk Animus Kayemis. Paro is wicked. We're not sure if his decrees will be fulfilled. I thought Tzaddik, but you're so righteous, said Miriam to her father Amram. For sure your decree will be upheld. As it states, Vatigzar, as it states in the Pasuk, Vatigzar Omar Vayakam Lach. It says in Job that basically when you make a decree, a righteous person makes a decree, and it will be fulfilled. So what did Amram do? Amad Vihilsiras Ishto. Pharaoh, so Amram stood up and remarried his wife. Amdu Kuan Vihilsiras Misha saying, everybody else stood up and remarried their wives. As it says, Vayikach. So if that's the case, the pasuk says, Vayachish Meis Levi, Vayikach Espas Levi. It should say Vayach Zormi by the way. It should say he remarried her. So Amram Yehuda Bar Zvina Sha'asol Ma'isel Kuchin. No, he made it like a first marriage. Ushiva Ba'apirion. That he sat her on a beautiful chair. Aaron Miriam basically a period is like the type of chair that a bride is that a new bride sits on. And Aaron and Miriam were dancing and Aaron and Miriam were dancing before her. And the ministering angel said, that let the mother of the children rejoice, meaning to say that he made it like a first wedding. That's why it says he took her. As Bas Levi, he took the daughter of Levi. She was 130 years old, Moshe's mother, because we know Moshe was 80 when he left Egypt, and Yocheved came down to Egypt with him. So therefore, Yocheved, they were only in Egypt for 210 years. So Yocheved was 130 years old when Moshe was born. So why was she called a Bas? She was conceived on the road to Egypt, and she was born between the walls. As it states in the pasuk, Asher Yolda Osali Levi, she was born to Levi, B'Mitzrayim. She was born in Egypt, Rasa B'Mitzrayim, but she was not conceived in Egypt. Amar Yehuda Shanolda Ba Simane Naros. So she was 130 years old, but she was reborn. She got the fountain of youth, and that's why she was called Bas Levi. Vatara Isha Vatela Bain, and so then Yocheved became pregnant and she gave birth to a son. Why does it say she became pregnant there? But she had initially already been 3 months before he had returned her, as the Gemara is going to prove. We compare her birth to her conception. Just like when she conceived, she was not in pain. So too, when Moses was born, she had no pain. So the righteous women, when they give birth, they weren't under the decree of Chava. They give birth without any pain. Matera so kitofu. She sees Moses, and she saw that he was good. Tanya Remeir Omar Tov Shemo. His name was good. Rabbi Yehuda Omar Tuvia Shemo. Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Moses was Tuvia. The name, the God is good. Rabbi Nechemia Omar Hagun Unavius. That it means, what does it mean? Tov, that he was good for prophecy. Acherim Omar Noad Kishum Mahu. He was born, Moses was born circumcised. Chamim Omar B'Shash Noah Moshe. When Moses was born, or the whole house was filled with light. It says here that she saw him, that he was good. And God saw the light, that it was good. But it's and she covered him up for 3 months. Below Manu Mitzrayim El Misha da Hadra, because the Egyptians only counted from the time that he had been brought back to her. Vihi Avas Mesaber Bey Tosa Yarchaim Makar, but she had already been pregnant for 3 months before he did the formal ceremony of remarrying her. And then at that point, Yocheved couldn't hide him anymore. So why not? It's B'nei V'Teiza. Why did she have to put Moshe in the water? Why didn't she continue to hide him? Whenever the Egyptians would hear that a baby was crying, whenever the Egyptians heard that a baby was born, and Matu Yanuka Hasam, they would take another baby there, so that the other baby would hear and start to cry with him. So that's how they found the babies. As it says in the verse from Song of Songs, that they grabbed us with these small foxes. So we see from here that the small foxes would cause the damage, and here too the small babies were causing the damage. But we see from here that the Jewish babies, when they would hear another baby crying, they would start to cry too. The baby is pure. And that's the same thing for the Jewish people. Whenever we hear somebody cry, we have to cry as well, to cry with them. So then the verse states, Amar Tzadikim. Oh, skip the verse. It says, that Yocheved made for Moses a basket of wicker basket to put Moses in. Why specifically that type of material? Amar Tzadikim. We see from here that the tzaddik, they care more about money than their own body. Because they don't want to steal. So therefore Miriam made Moses a very cheap basket. Rabbi Shimon bar Nachmani Amar Davarach. No, she made him something soft. She made him something small that could stand before something small and also something hard. The softer thing is able to ironically withstand harder winds. So that's why she made him this soft basket. We see this elsewhere. The Gemara says that the Jewish people are compared to a reed. That the reed you can bend, but it doesn't break, whereas a cedar tree will break. That's what the Gemara in Tainus says. So the Gemara says, Vatachmara. And then what did she do? It says that she covered it up with clay and with tar. The clay was on the inside, and the tar was on the outside. So that tzaddik wouldn't smell anything bad, which is unlike Noach, which Noach, he had the tar on the inside too. And she placed the boy in the suf. She put the boy in the basket, and then she put the basket in the suf. Rabbi Omer Yam Suf, that she put Moses in the Yam Suf. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani tells us, Agam, we're in the 12b, it was a swamp, Kedilsev, Kaneh Vesuf Kamelu. That it says in Isaiah that it was reeds, and it was a suf, and it was kamelu. It had dried out and fallen. Vatered bas paro or chotzalai, or And then the daughter of Pharaoh went down to bathe by the river. Why did she go? She went down to bathe from the idols, to purify herself. She went to the mikvah because she no longer wanted to be an idolater. God will wipe away the feces of the daughters of Zion. God wipes them away. So it means to purify. And then it says that her maids are walking by the banks of the river. Means that they were dying. As it states about Esav. Esav says, behold, I am going to die. And she saw meaning to say that the maids were trying to prevent Miriam, Bitya, the daughter of Pharaoh, from saving the baby. So the angel killed them, as the Gemara is going to say. And the daughter of Pharaoh saw the ark, saw the basket in the suf, and came into Chazu to Kabbalah Tzula Moshe. And once these maids saw that she was coming to save Moses, Amrullah Gvir so her maid said to her, Min Hagosha, O Amelch Basar Adam Gozer Gezerim Kol Kuo. The manner of the world is that a king of flesh and blood makes a decree. So if the whole world doesn't keep it, so at least his own family should keep it. And you're going to violate the decree of your father. Gabriel came and smacked them into the ground and killed them. And she stuck forth. And she stuck forth her Amma, and she took him. What does this mean? Rabbi Yehuda she stuck forth her hand. Another version is her maid went out. One that says it was her hand. It says her hand. Amma can be a hand. The one that says it was her maid went out to get him. It doesn't say her hand. It says Amasa. The one who says it was her maid, I thought Gabriel had just killed him. Mar says no. The Shir Lachada. Gabriel left behind one maid. Not appropriate for a princess to be by herself. According to one who says it was her hand, let her have her. Why does it right hand? So Mar says it's to teach us Kamash Malan. Her hand stretched out miraculously to get the baby. Also the teeth of the wicked, because it says Shine Rishayim Shibarta. That the teeth of the wicked became stretched out. And that's what it means, that the teeth of the wicked became stretched out. And here too. And so that was a reference. That's a reference to a Gemara that we did in Megillah and in Brachos, which tells us that this was the teeth of Og Melech Habashan, that his teeth became long when he uprooted a mountain and he held it and he was about to throw it onto the Jewish people, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent ants and they made a hole in the mountain, and the mountain ended up falling over the head of Og Melech Habashan. And then what it says back in the verse, Vatiftach Vatereu was a yelad, and she opened up the basket and she saw the boy. Why did it say Vatereu? Vaterem, it should just say she saw it. She saw the divine presence was with him. And behold, the baby boy was crying. In one verse it's called a yelad, which is a younger boy, and the other verse is called a nar, which is older. Tana, so we learn who yelled. He was a boy, he was a baby, the kol kanar, but his voice was like a teenager. Rabbi Yehuda, Amru Rabbi Nechemia, Imkena Sito Moshe Rabbeinu Balmum. And well, now you're making Moshe to be, to be defective. He's strange. No, his mother made for him a chupas na'arim. His mother made for him like a bridal canopy, the dress that they would wear, that the groom would wear at the chuppah. Amar Shemalo Eskel chuppah. So maybe I'll not merit to see his chuppah. So we see from here that she had unbelievable hope and faith. The Jewish people recently saw a tremendous tragedy. 2 young girls were murdered. And you can imagine how difficult it is for their family that they had these dreams of their daughters walking to the chuppah. But we know that the Jewish people have always had hope, and that was the hope of Yocheved, that she makes as she throws her baby into the sea. She makes him a chupas na'arim. And then she has mercy on him. And as she has mercy on him, she says, this boy is from the Hebrews. How did she know he was a Hebrew? That she saw him circumcised. She saw Moses was circumcised. And she actually prophesied without realizing it. Zenofel, she said, this boy will fall. This will be the last baby to fall into the sea. What does it mean when it's written? They say those people who seek out the false gods and they prophesize and they speak. What does this mean? They prophesize, they don't know what they're saying. They don't know what they're speaking. The astrologers of the Egyptians saw that the savior of the Jewish people would be struck down in the water. They made a decree, every boy that's born is tossed into the sea. Given the Shajua Moshe, once Moses was tossed in, Amru, they said, we no longer see that he's going to be thrown in. Kiyahu Simana, we no longer see that Simon. Batul Xerasayo, they canceled their decree, but they didn't realize that he was going to get struck down. Moses was going to be punished through the bitter waters at Meriva. Asheravu Hema. That's what they were. That was the effect was. That's what the verse was. That's what their prophecy was referring to. Hema Mem Riva Asheravu. That was the problem. Hema Sharo, it's stuck in a paro. This is what the astrologers of Pharaoh saw Vito, and they made that mistake. I know the Kamar Moshe, and that's what Moshe says. That's why Moshe says in the verse, Sheish Meos Elef Ragli. The people, there are 600,000 men with me. And what does it mean, Ragli? On my account. On my account, all of you were saved, because after I was tossed into the sea, the decree was canceled against the Egyptians. So everybody, all of you people who were here were only saved on my account. That day that Moshe was thrown into the sea, into the Yam Suf, was the 21st day of Nisan. It's coming right up upon us. It's just 2 days from now. The angel said before God, Ribbon Shalom, Master of the universe, Misha Atidu Amar Shira Ayom Biyom Zeh, the one who in the future will sing the song on the sea on this day, i.e., on the seventh day of Pesach. Are you going to kill him on this day? As a result of that, he was saved. And that's so ironic. They said the angel said you have to save Moshe because he's going to sing Az Yashir on this day. Well, 1 second. He can't sing Az Yashir if he's not going to make it. But that's the Gemara's irony. That was the 6th of Sivan, i.e. day of Matan Torah. And the angel said before God, Ribbon Shalom, Master of the universe, Misha Asid, Torah, whoever is going to get the Torah from Sinai on this day, will be struck down on this day. So the Gemara says, makes sense according to one who says that it was the 6th of Sivan, Mishkachasla. We have 3 months from Sayin Adar. And we know Moses was born on 7 Adar. No, on Moshe, that Moses was born. Even though we did see another version in the Darim that gave us that he was actually born in in I think it was Teves, and Moshe was born in Teves, maybe Shvat, I forget, the Gemara in Nedarim. There was a different version of when he was born, but the accepted idea is that Moses was born in 7th Adar. B'Shiv b'Adar v'Ad Shisha b'Sivan To'at Yachi, that's 3 months. Alamanda Amar b'Esra me'echa b'Nisan, but according to one who says that this was the 21st of Nisan, well, that's not 3 months. It's only 6 weeks. So how are you going to get to 3 months? So the Gemara says, well, also Shalom Barasai saw that there was an extra month that year because they made it a leap year. How did they make a leap year? I thought you're not allowed to make a leap year outside of Israel, but they did it. Ruba Sharushon, the majority of the first month was Ruba Shalachron, the majority of the last month. The middle one was complete, and so he counted as 3 months. Tomar Achoso Abbas Baro, and the sister Moshe said to the daughter of Pharaoh, should I go and call for you a nursing woman from the Hebrews? Why does it have to be Me'avrios from the Hebrews? I'll call Amitzios calling that Moshe was brought to all the Egyptian women, and they didn't nurse him. Amar, because God said, Pesha Asaladaber Mashchina, Yinok Davar Tamei. This mouth, which in the future is going to speak with God, how can he nurse from a non-kosher source? As it states, who can we teach Torah to? The one who nurses, so the one who is nursed properly, it doesn't drink from the Egyptian woman. And so the halacha is, and go back here in my Gemara, I'll leave it there. The halacha is that, technically speaking, all the milk is kosher. That technically speaking, you're not prohibited to drink from a baby is not prohibited. But it states cholav. It says in the hold on, what's the exact source I'm citing here? It says in the Ramah in Yeridea, it says that technically speaking, the milk of a non-Jew, a Jew can nurse from a baby. Nevertheless, you shouldn't do it if you're possible to do from a Jew, because the non-kosher food makes the milk taste like non-kosher. But what's the reason why? So Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky explains like this. He says, what's the reason why the baby can't drink? The reason why baby can't drink is because Moshe Rabbeinu was going to speak with the Shechina. So therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu was not able to drink from this milk. But these other babies, they're not Moshe Rabbeinu. So they should be allowed to nurse from anybody. So the word is, every baby that's born has the potential to be as great as Moshe Rabbeinu. And when we educate the baby, we shouldn't say, oh, you're not going to be great. So we're not going to start the baby off on that foot at the beginning by saying, oh, you could drink from the non-kosher milk. So therefore, every baby we have to treat as though they could be Moshe Rabbeinu with that potential and give them from the proper milk to drink. Okay, so we'll stop here. God willing, pick this up tomorrow morning at 6:30 again.